I bet you thought I forgot about you, but I did not. Welcome back, and if you've never been here before, welcome. I'm Pearl Z, and this is Pearl Z Cozy Games. Here is part 2 of my Glittering Dunes Biome series. In part 1, just in case it's been a while since you watched it or you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, I did an Agrabah Marketplace build. In part 2, I'm going to do a courtyard build using the Desert Palace and the wood and wicker cozy house. I am doing these builds for my darling mother, and she plays on Switch, so she has the smaller item limit than I do when I play on PC, and that's something that I've been really trying to focus on in the videos. So just to recap, in this video I used 49 unique items. 24 of those are reused from part 1 if you did the marketplace build, so that means it's 25 new items if you did do the marketplace build, and it brings my biome total of unique items up to 76. If you haven't watched part 1 or you're not interested in the marketplace build, the only number you need to take away from that is 49. So 49 unique items are all that I used in this build, which I think is pretty small considering how good I think it looks. I hope you guys find this inspirational, and with that being said, I'll get out of the way and get to the building. This build was done in Eternity Island in the Glittering Dunes biome in the section called the Wastes. It's also the area where the Cave of Wonders is located, if that's easier for you to find. So I wanted there to be a difference between my Agrabah Marketplace, which is directly below where I'm doing this build, and the courtyard for these two houses. So that's why I decided to use the Agrabah wall set to put up gates at all of the places where you would enter this section of the Glittering Dunes. Because this front section is a little bit awkward, I decided to put a cactus garden up here. So what I'm doing is just filling in the pathing for that cactus garden. And then I'm going to use a different path, and that's where I'm going to put the cactus planters later. So right now I'm just trying to get the basics down so I know that I have the spacing right. And then I'll come back later and fill in the areas with the actual plants. Keeping access to the resources that are available in an area is one of my highest priorities in any of the builds that I do. So I knew in this area I needed to maintain access to the 2 fishing spots, and that there are also a bunch of mining nodes that are scattered throughout it. This is one of the main reasons why I didn't do a wall around the entire space, and I decided just to do the gate with the 2 towers at all of the access points. The other is that I'm doing this build for my mom, and she plays on Switch, and I didn't want to use the items that it would take to build a wall around the entire area. The 2 houses that I used for this build are both player house skins from the premium shop, and they're the Desert Palace and the cozy wooden wicker house. I wanted the wooden wicker house to kind of be like a guest house to the Desert Palace, or maybe like a caretaker's cottage or something, so that's why I decided to set them up the way that I did. When I recorded this build, it was before Dreamlight Valley had added diagonal pathing to the game. So if you're wondering why there are no diagonal paths used in this build, that's why. It's because diagonal pathing was still just something that I dreamed about and put on my wish lists, and it wasn't a part of reality yet. I could say that the palm planter, the next item that I use, is what inspired this entire build. I knew that I wanted to do a video on each section of the Glittering Dunes, but I was having a hard time figuring out what to put up in this area because it's kind of an odd shape. And once I saw that I could nest the palm planter in the little alcove at the front of the Desert Palace, I liked it so much that it is what I based this entire build on, was those 2 palm planters on either side of the Desert Palace. while recording for this video, I had one of those moments that anyone who plays Dreamlight Valley probably can relate to, where you exit furniture mode, and while the little icon is spinning in the middle of the screen, you realize that you haven't saved in a while, and you have that panic feeling of, oh no, it's not going to save, and it doesn't save. So that happened to me, so I ended up doing this build again right away. So I did it 2 times in a row. If it seems like I'm being a little finicky about placements and that kind of stuff, it's because I had just done the build. So I knew how I needed things to line up so I could add in the furniture that I wanted to later. The other result of my saving debacle is that I saved this build way more than I normally would, so I apologize if things get a little jumpy. I tried to cut out all of the exiting furniture modes and then re-entering it that I saw, but I might have missed some, or the cuts might seem kind of weird, and if they do, that's why. I absolutely adore the Moroccan pavilion fountain. It's one of my favorite items in the game, and I've been dying to use it in a build ever since I got it. I knew that I wanted the fountain to be the center point of the courtyard that I was doing, and I had the idea that I wanted it to kind of be surrounded by lots of lush little seating areas, and I knew I wanted to feature all of the new Agrabah rugs as well. So what I'm doing here is going in and placing the rugs, and I'm going to come back in later and fill in all of these seating areas with different pieces of furniture. In order to place the round side table and the island umbrella like I do here, you need to rotate the island umbrella 1 time. I don't know why, but if you do that, the game will glitch and it'll allow you to place the umbrella directly in the middle of the table. If you don't rotate it though, it won't let you. The umbrella will stay red and it's not a possible location. I mentioned this in my Marketplace Build video, but I thought I would mention it here again in case you didn't watch that. The next 3 items that I used, so the Agrabah Palace Bench, Agrabah Palace Poof, and the Royal Vanity Bench, are all not tagged as Aladdin items within Dreamlight Valley. So that means if you go to the filters page and you click on the Aladdin icon under Universe, these items will not come up as Aladdin items. I found this confusing and it made it kind of difficult for me to find them. So I just wanted to share that information in case it saves anyone else a headache. Unlike the wooden wicker house, I find the front of the desert palace to be a little underwhelming, especially if you consider that it is a palace. So I wanted to zhuzh it up a little bit. So that's why I decided to add all of these planters and eventually one of the benches, just so that way it seemed like a more impressive entryway for a palace. I also wanted to create something with height and like a visual barrier to help enclose the courtyard area more. So I was trying to fill in the spaces in between the 2 potted palm planters that kind of make up the wall of the courtyard that I'm making. The orange tea set might be a little bit of a frivolous item because I only use 2 of them, but I've always wanted to use these in a build and I haven't found a reason to do it yet, so that's why I added them here. If you're very concerned about items, you could always skip it. I wanted to do something to highlight the entrance to the Cave of Wonders because it is in this space, but I had a rather difficult time coming up with something that I liked. The limitations around this area are kind of hard because the game doesn't let you put items very close to the mouth of the Cave of Wonders. So if you're wondering why I keep coming back to this area, it's because every time I saw it, I didn't like what I had done and I had to keep tweaking it. I ended up liking the design at the end, it's just it took me a little while to get there. The red cobra statue is another item that I've always wanted to use in a build and I've never had a reason to, like the orange tea set. So if you are super concerned about item limits, it's definitely one you could skip. If you want to do that, you can just repeat the planter from the front half of the courtyard back here in the where I have the cobra statue. When I do a path using stepping stones, like here with the garden path stones, I have a method so that way I get the best results. And this is what works for me. The first step is I will lay out the path from point A to point B. So I know how many individual stone clusters I need to cover the distance that I want. After that, I'll go back in and I rotate the pieces. I never want to have two pieces that are facing the same direction in a row because I think it looks too repetitive. So I'll go back in and start rotating pieces. And that helps me decide also how I'm going to let the path weave and meander a little bit so it's not a straight line. And I just kind of let the stones dictate the shape of the path. I felt like this gate was kind of floating over here by itself in a no man's land, so that's why I decided to add some trees to help and tie it into the rest of the build. Also, I think it helps with the join here between the land bridge and where the gate meets up. The one thing that I was worried about though is that I don't know if I said this in this video or not, but whenever I do builds, I need them, or I want them to be functional. So that means I want whoever's playing to have access to all of the resources that are available, especially because I do builds for my mom a lot. And I just think it would be rude if I made her a nice looking build, but then she couldn't play the game. She can't get to the resources that she needs to. I was really happy with how this one turned out. And it was just 2 trees on each side and a little fencing, but I think it really makes a big difference if you look at it between just the 2 towers and the gate and just adding a couple of trees on either side. I really think it makes it look more a delineation between the courtyard and not the courtyard. And I also think it helps ease the transition over that land bridge. And that's why I came in with the underbrush here, and I did this around the build in lots of areas because I wanted the areas where I didn't put any pathing down to feel more wild. You know, they were in a natural state or they were left to grow as they would. And then I wanted the areas in the middle around the fountain and with the palm planters to feel very landscaped. I also love the grass that I used. It's one specific beach grass that's in the landscaping, but I really like the grass because you can see it, but you can also walk through it. And the other plants you can't walk through. Obviously, you can't walk through a cactus. So that's why I use grass a lot, just to kind of break up areas where there is a lot of sand or dirt or whatever the case may be, because I think that it helps make things visually interesting, but at the same time, it doesn't block off your character from walking through areas. When I was placing the lamps around this gate, I noticed that I didn't finish my cactus garden. Like I said, I had to do this build a couple of times because of technical problems, so I apologize if it seems a little disjointed. I intended to do this all at once, but I got a little confused about if I'd already done things or not because I did this build so many times over again. So, sorry. I don't think I've mentioned it yet in this video, so I'll do it here. The two palm trees that I'm using for this build are the large and small dune palm that are included with the Eternity Island expansion pack in the landscaping section of furniture mode. I knew that I wanted to add some sort of lighting around the fountain in the center of the courtyard, and I really like the solution that I ended up going with in this build. So that is the enchanted water lilies on top of the display pillars. I really like the golden light that they give off, and they also let off tiny little sparkles that I think really just add a nice touch to the overall look of the courtyard. I always try to add a couple of book piles to any of the designs that I do, because if you do that, then the characters from Dreamlight Valley will come and hang out in the area. And now it's time for the final walkthrough. So that wraps up part 2 of my Glittering Dunes Eternity Isle build. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you find it very inspirational. If you stuck around this long, thank you so much, and please give the video a like or subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I'm just starting out, and every little bit helps. Otherwise, you don't have to do anything, and just watching is enough. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!